All right, so in this video, I wanted to discuss the full Oregon and Washington dynamic. What's going on with those two teams when it comes to the Pac-12? What is the Pac-12 doing to pivot from their current situation down to 9 teams? Looks like they're trying to add 1 to 3 teams, with the top choices being San Diego State and SMU. But we've got Oregon and Washington presidents meeting with Big 12 execs again. That happened last night, according to this tweet. And just, Oregon and Washington right now, I said it last year, I think it's so obvious. The Big Ten, when they eventually expanded out to 20 teams, they need more West Coast teams to balance the conference and make travel easier for USC and UCLA. It just makes so much sense, and you would figure that Oregon and Washington would be 1A and 1B on that list. Also, if you're Oregon and Washington, though, you have to keep your options open. Where do the Ducks go now? Assessing all options for Oregon and the Pac-12. So yes, if I was Oregon and Washington, certainly I'm having communications with the Big 12. If the rumored TV deal numbers are true and you're staring down the barrel at only 18 to 21 million, if you stay with the Pac-12, with a lot of that being stream only, which is a big problem for brands like Oregon, especially, you're not being seen on TV, it's an issue. You have to consider the Big 12. I would not go to the Big 12, though, if I was Oregon and Washington, because I would still have hope that it just makes sense. The Big Ten is going to want to balance their conference, and they will take you, and you will get a mega bump in pay if you can get into the Big Ten. So just stay right now in the Pac-12. Try and allow them to stabilize a little bit, possibly add more teams. But I do think Oregon and Washington, while they're keeping their options open with the Big 12, because the TV deal looks so bad right now with the Pac-12, Colorado leaving, everyone asking, is that a big deal? Is it not? Guys, Colorado leaving for as bad as they have been, and I understand they're an unpredictable asset right now because they were just 1-11, and if they had not gotten Deion Sanders, a lot of us would have a very different opinion of Colorado leaving the Pac-12. I mean, if they had not gotten Deion Sanders, I would say, so what? I mean, Colorado is terrible. I understand they've been in the Pac-12 forever. Technically, it is still a big move, but them getting Deion Sanders is going to bring them so much publicity and probably more success. The question is, will Deion Sanders use Colorado as a stepping stone job? I think he will. Pac-12 CEO group has called a meeting for this afternoon. The conference ADs will be included in that call. A member of the CEO group told me they will discuss the opportunity to trade up through expansion given Colorado's decision. So they're trying to swing it, and you can see is a group of 5 San Diego State or SMU trading up from Colorado. I would say no, but I can understand why people would think possibly based on how horrific Colorado has been recently. You can see San Diego State is currently better at football and basketball than Colorado, and for the better part of 10 years, that's been true. San Diego is my favorite area to visit as well, and they will be losing Boulder, Colorado, of course, saying possibly it is an upgrade for the Pac-12. I don't think that's true, but listen, San Diego State is a very attractive option for the Pac-12 with or without Colorado. What you have to understand is they just got a new stadium. You're talking about that San Diego market. It does make sense in that sense to consider San Diego State possibly on the same level as Colorado, although it is hard to judge Colorado. I just think the symbolism of Colorado leaving the Pac-12, to me, that signals that the TV deal that the Pac-12 is currently negotiating is not good. Otherwise, why would they leave and go to the Big 12? It's very obvious if they're going to leave, the Big 12 has a substantially better TV deal, and that's where the whole rumored, it's possibly $10 million per year better if you go to the Big 12. That's why you're probably seeing Oregon and Washington having meetings with different conferences like the Big 12, possibly looking to trade up. Also, the Big 12 has that deal with ESPN, so they are going to be shown on national TV a bunch. That's another big thing that would be a huge upgrade from the Pac-12's current situation, although we really don't know what's going on with the Pac-12 in terms of who they're negotiating with. I've heard different streaming services. Apple TV was in, now they're out. Would Peacock consider it? I know they lost billions of dollars recently. I was reading that last night. We'll see. My sources tell me that one more school from the Pac-12 is coming to the Big 12 by the end of the week. Same source told me Colorado was happening this week on Monday. The school will surprise you. So yeah, looking at this dude's history, who knows if this dude's right, but I believe he was hinting at Oregon State as the team, and that would not be good for the Big 12. That is not, you're making your conference, so you're getting more teams, but the conference really isn't getting better in terms of quality. So if it is Oregon State, I don't think that would be a good move. If you're talking about just one other team, the obvious choice I think would probably be Arizona. Utah, it seems like right now, they're just a little bit less likely to jump for expansion. There's been, to me, a few less rumors on a team like Utah, even though they were one of the 4 schools that had been rumored to the Big 12. I think if it's one more team, it's Arizona. And you do have the Big 12 coming out and saying, listen, we have an odd number of teams right now. We are going to add 1 to 3 schools that will join Colorado in 2024. So this is all going to be happening really, really quickly. League will first seek others from the Pac-12 to join. If none of those end up doing so, they will add 1 group of 5, likely between UConn, Memphis, San Diego State, or UNLV. Seems like it would probably be San Diego State, although I don't know their current situation with the Mountain West exactly. UConn, I know there's been rumors they would join the Big 12 for basketball, but they are trying to reach an even number of teams in 2024. This is exactly what everyone predicted would happen. You're not going to stay at an odd number of teams, of course. I would imagine they probably want, their top teams they would want Washington, Oregon. I'm guessing Washington and Oregon say thanks, but no thanks. Keep us in the back of your mind. Right now, we're trying to go to the Big Ten. The Big Ten saying they're not open for business. That's probably going to change in the coming years, depending on what happens with the ACC. I've also heard a lot of rumblings that Florida State, this is kind of going off topic, but I've heard things about Florida State going to the Big Ten, not saying it's going to happen. That is a legal nightmare with the TV deal that Florida State currently has. But you have Florida State, you have Miami, you have Clemson, among others, trying to work desperately to find some legal reason to get out of that terrible TV deal they're signed in, I believe, through 2036 with ESPN. If that ends up happening, you could be looking at FSU, maybe another team from the ACC, and then also the West Wing being Oregon and Washington going to the Big Ten. I still think the Big Ten is going to add Oregon and Washington. It makes too much sense. You have to balance the conference. It's right in front of your face. The travel does not make sense. I understand we all have airplanes. I get it. It just makes more sense if they were to add those teams. But then again, it is all financially driven. If FSU is going to bring in more money than Oregon and Washington, you'd rather add FSU and maybe some other ACC teams. But right now, I think the Pac-12 is looking at this situation and saying, we're going to ask Oregon, we're going to ask Washington, we're going to ask Utah, we're going to ask Arizona. I really would not be interested in Oregon State, Washington State. I don't think Cal and Stanford are culture fits for the Big 12, but they could ask all of those teams, and then if none of them happen, I would honestly probably take San Diego State over Oregon State or Washington State, and it's nothing against those schools. I just think it's a better fit, and it's probably going to be a similar amount of money, and you get the San Diego market. So we'll have to see what happens with that, but they are adding more teams in the coming weeks. The odds of remaining at 13 teams in 2024 is slim. We need to get to an even number in 2024, and the long-term vision is 16. And I would say the long-term vision for the Big Ten and SEC is 20 at this point. Big 12 eyeing Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah right now, according to sources, not surprising. Could Oregon and Washington join the Big 12? They're probably going to wait and see what the Big Ten is doing, but they're still having meetings, according to reports. They're keeping their options open. The TV deal, the marketability is going to be better in the Big 12 than it is right now in the Pac-12. But of course, you do have Pac-12 people still trying to swing it and say, no, we're trading up. We're only losing one team. Yes, we lost USC and UCLA last year. Now we're down to 9. We're trying to add San Diego State, SMU, and maybe UNLV to get in the Las Vegas market. It seems like they're trying to use a bucket to shovel out water from a sinking ship right now. It is not going well, but I understand you've got to try and swing it. Group of 5 teams would face high exit fees. So this is another wrinkle into the whole scheme for either San Diego State or UNLV to leave the Mountain West and play in 2024 in the Big 12. They would be required to pay a $34 million exit fee. UConn, who is an independent in football, but a Big East member in all other sports, has a $30 million exit fee. Memphis exit fee is only $10 million to leave the AAC, but that is by providing 27 months notice. So it seems like these group of 5s are going to have a really tough time going to the Big 12 in 2024. And the Big 12's best option is probably Arizona right now. That's what I would surmise based off all of this. I mean, that is a crazy exit fee for a group of 5 team, $34 million. So right now, to summarize the situation, the big stuff that is upcoming, you've got Oregon and Washington having meetings, looking at their options. You've got the Big 12, who's still hungry now, sitting at an odd number of teams. They need to add 1 to 3 more teams. I'm guessing, if I had to guess, it would probably be Arizona, but that is just a rough, educated guess. And then, of course, the Pac-12, because they lost another team, they're pivoting. They're trying to keep everyone together. They're trying to get this TV deal done that we originally thought was going to be announced. I mean, we thought this thing was going to be announced 8 or 9 months ago. It's been dragging on. It's been rumor. I've heard 18 to 21 million. That is not a good number for a Power 5 team. That is not attractive. Oregon and Washington, probably not good enough for them, and they're probably going to be looking at other options in the future. But guys, we will have to see what ends up happening. That is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.